The former stars of Hill TV's Rising, Crystal and Sagar, at least I believe that's how he pronounces his name, have started their own YouTube channel. The story is they voluntarily left Hill TV because they wanted to be more free to produce the type of show that they wanted to produce. And when you watch them, every so often you would start seeing sparks of intelligent life. And you would believe that maybe it's just because of their corporate overlords at Hill TV that they were forced to say or promote ridiculous narratives, some of the dumbest things that you'll ever hear. Although I wouldn't say it was the absolute dumbest thing you'll ever hear. That title and that prestige is left to the likes of CNN, NBC, and MSNBC. But they go out there and they try to make points, and they try to act rational, and every so often, they'll concede certain points. Now, when they went off and started their own show, you thought, yes, without the corporate overlords, they can finally be more honest. But that turns out not to be the case, because they can't hide their left-wing extremism. But more to the point, they can't help but to try and do the whole, Trump is guilty of that which the Democrats do. Which makes no sense, but it's just like all typical leftists. The Democrats do something, they get called out for it, and then they blame Republicans. And now most people will go off and say it's the Republican pounce. But no. This isn't the Republican pounce narrative, whereby the story is not the scandal, but the reaction to the scandal. This is just blame Republicans for that which the Democrats do all the time. And the favorite person that they like to go after is President Trump. Then they want to go off and claim Trump is a demagogue. No, he's not. No, he's not. And I will get more on that point later. But there was a recent segment that shows that intellectual integrity is not going to be part of their new show, Breaking Point. So let's go ahead and play a clip from that, and then let's call them out for the stupidity in which they're engaged in.
What type of conditions create fertile ground for demagogues and would-be strongmen, con men who pose as populists but are in bed with elites? The answer is obvious. The worse things get, the more fertile the ground for those types of political figures. When sectarian conflicts dominate, when crime rises, when addiction abounds, when the gulf between the haves and the have-nots is an insurmountable chasm, do you think that this landscape leads to a reasoned and nuanced dialogue? To resounding confidence in established networks of political power? Of course it doesn't. It results in voters hurling the biggest FU that they can possibly find, and Trump is the biggest FU available. The sad truth is that Trump both made everything worse and also stands to benefit from everything being worse.
Now, I disagree with their assessment that the worse things get, the better it is for demagogues. Of course, I disagree that Trump is a demagogue. Trump is the ultimate purveyor of the golden rule. You know, the golden rule, that whole treat people the way you want to be treated, except for he does it in, he treats people the way they treat him. So the worse you treat Trump, the more he's going to hit back. The better you treat Trump, the better he treats you. That's the simple truth. Now, they want to go off and say that the worse things get, the better it is for demagogues, but I disagree. When looking at the past here in the United States, actually, the better things get, the more demagogues seem to prevail. Take a look at some of the worst demagogues in the United States. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Ocasio-Cortez, Maxine Waters, and the list goes on and on and on, and you'll notice that they're all Democrats. And here's their whole shtick. Hey, Republican policies may have increased your income 3%, but don't you know, if we were in charge, we would have gotten you 5%. It's only because of racism that you didn't get that extra 2%. And that's how they go. And then they try to go off and say racism. And the Democrats, when they're in control of an area, that's when things go to crap. I mean, take a look at how much things have gone to crap since Joe Biden got into office. Under President Trump, we saw a booming economy. We saw wages actually going up in terms of purchasing power, real purchasing power. We saw stability internationally. We saw peace breaking out in the Middle East. We saw illegal immigration under control. He made everything better. And then when the pandemic hit, He led the most effective response to a pandemic, especially a global pandemic, ever witnessed, going from breakout to vaccine in record time. And in fact, in less than a year, not only did we go from breakout to vaccine, but we also went to distribution before he even left office. But of course, he made everything worse, although they can't provide anything that he actually made worse. Race relations were even better under President Trump. Now, we go off and we see Joe Biden. We see that illegal immigration is surging, worse than it's ever been because of Joe Biden's policies. We see economic devastation. We see massive inflation. We see breakdown of global stability. Everything is worse. And so, if you were to go off and try and claim why Trump would win 2024, it's like, okay, when Trump was in office, everything was going great. Trump being out of office, replaced by a Democrat, it's all going to hell. So if we had a choice between someone who brought us success and financial prosperity and someone who is devastating us economically, it's no wonder we might want to go back to the person who brought us financial prosperity. I mean, if people vote in their best interest. But this whole Trump made everything worse and then seeks to benefit from it. No. Republican policies work. Where Republicans are in charge, you see prosperity. You see minority communities lifted up financially. You see policies that work. And then the Democrats want to say, well, no. It doesn't work for everybody because the person who sits on their butt all day playing, binge watching Netflix and playing video games, they're not getting the equal results of the people who are going out there working 60 hours a week. Therefore, it must be racism. And then the Democrats go out there. They implement policies whenever they get in control of an area. Economic devastation, joblessness, and high poverty rates are the results. And then they go out there and say, see, it's the result of systemic racism. See, they're trying to apply to Trump exactly that which the Democrats are guilty of. They're trying to describe Trump by using the characteristics of Democrats. Now, like I said, there was hope that because there was previous signs of intelligent life between these two, that breaking out on their own means that they would stop with the bull crap, stop with the partisan games, stop with the factless claims. But no. It turns out that while they were on rising, those signs of intelligent life were accidental and not actual signs that they have any intelligence. It's just another example of a broken clock being right twice a day, and even a blind squirrel finding a nut once in a while. So there's no point in really going through and watching the show other than to point out how dumb they are and how dumb their audience is. But then again, that can describe almost every left-wing show.